Welcome, everyone, to episode 73 of Dial the Gate. My name is David Reed. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to another Sunday. Hope you're having a great weekend. My first guest this weekend is one of my favorite guest stars from Stargate. I was watching the show when it first aired in syndication in 1997? 97. And he was in season 1. Jay Brazeau played the what was he was at Alteran kind of robotic Harlan, and he also came back in Stargate Atlantis as the Lord Protector in the tower, and we're going to have him on in just a moment here. But before we get started, if you like Stargate and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, it would mean a great deal if you click the like button. It really makes a difference with YouTube's algorithm and will definitely help the show grow its audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend, and if you want to get notified about future episodes, click the subscribe icon. Giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. And this is key if you plan on watching live, and clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next several days on the gateworld.net YouTube channels. Without further ado, our first guest today, Jay Brazeau. Hello, sir. Welcome to Dial the Gate. Did we lose him? There he is.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of a lag.
Oh, that's all right.
How are you, sir?
Comtrya.
Welcome. Thank you so much for being on.
It took me so long to do that.
How are things? How are you doing? Jay, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, your screen is frozen. Oh, there. That's better now.
How are you doing? How are things going?
Sorry, it's frozen again.
Uh-oh.
Would that be on my end or your end? Would that be on?
I've got everything. I'm not downloading anything on my side here.
Mm-hmm.
Let me check this real quick here. My connection says excellent in terms of the upload, so I don't think it's me.
It must be me. The bugs. It's a Zoom meeting on here. I'm okay on my end. Yeah, you seem to be fine now.
You seem to be fine. Well, let's take advantage of the clouds parting from the sun. All right. So, how are things going? You doing good?
Tickety boo, tickety boo.
Jeez. I really appreciate you joining me on the show. Your character was so iconic and special to me in season 1. When the series was really coming into its own, it was creating some of the more interesting characters, even one or two off characters like Harlan. This was a special character, this early on in the series.
Oh yeah, it was really interesting. It's interesting because I hadn't watched it. I mean, I can't believe 1997 it was. Holy smokes!
I know.
But it was kind of special because I think up to that point it had been for sort of a serious kind of series to add a little comedy in it and something different. Like they used to do that in Star Trek every once in a while. And they tried that with Harlan, and it just seemed to all come together, and we got to see that other side of all the guys there.
Absolutely. The show always proved to have legs and go in whatever direction that it wanted, depending on the episode. A more serious tone, a more philosophical. And this one was like, it was one of those where we had a perspective shift where we were watching this episode, and it's like we assume that it's our team, and it's not. And this kind of mad scientist android has absolutely thrown them all for a loop, and he doesn't understand that he's completely ripped them of their identities. He's like, why aren't you loving this? I love life. Why aren't you?
I know.
It
was a chance too, because there was basically Harlan and them the whole episode.
I know.
So interesting. I imagine must have been for them to actually to write it, I'm sure for Brad and to actually, it was really, I looked at it again last night. I hadn't looked at it and boom, my God, since it first came out, and that was amazing. You're always amazed that, wow, that isn't so bad.
No, and you haven't aged a day.
Yeah, sure. I got a little portrait in my other room, and I just.
What is the every actor brings something different to the show. We talked with Saul Rubinek a few weeks ago.
Saul, yes, Saul.
He's just brilliant, and I mean, he took it in stride, and he took the compliment when I said to him, it sounds like you're making the dialogue up as you go along, and he's like, well, that's what we're supposed to do, and that wasn't what I was trying to get at. What I was trying to get at is he adds that kind of flavor to it, and with your character, I don't know where and I'd like to discuss like where the personality for this character comes from, the bubbliness of this character, despite his conditions, despite the living environment that he had. But I mean, just every moment for him was kind of like, Comtrya! What was it like building this character? Who did you see Harlan as being for you?
I don't know. In some ways, Harlan is like, well, I mean, how old is he? He's 11,000 years old.
11,000.
But it's like a single parent, like parents who have one kid, right? And you grow up playing a lot alone, And he struck me as that kind of character too. That kind of alone kind of character, but yet was so intelligent with all this stuff and everything, and that seemed to be the key to it, to me anyway. And it just they played along with it, and it was a lot of fun. I never knew before you seen where he was going to go or what he was going to see, how he was going to react. Little things like this, I never figured it out. Thank God for Comtrya. That's what I say.
It was always someplace to go back to.
Right. In the midst of something, what should I do? Comtrya.
What I want us to take a step back. You have one of the longest lists of acting credits I've ever seen.
I owe a lot of money.
Well, I mean, it sure looks like you're doing everything you can to act it off. So, what was your original impetus for entering into this craft? How young were you? Where did the desire come from? Can you tell us that story?
Well, to start off, I remember saying to my mother one day, I came from a little sort of poor part of town in Winnipeg, Manitoba, way up in Canada. And I remember one time my dad, I was sort of a single kid for the longest time until my other sister came along. And my dad, it was kind of a strange relationship in the beginning because my mother was 21 when she married my dad, who was 58 years old.
Wow.
So right away, it's going to be a kind of crazy life,
Yeah.
And my dad was more like a grandfather to me. So we were not, playing hockey every day, but he would take me to the movies, right? And I sort of grew up with that. And I remember one day just going to my mother and saying, I want to be an actor. And she said, you can't be an actor. And I said, why not? You don't look like Paul Newman.
Come on. Uh-oh. We lost him. Oh, are you still there? Hang on just a second. Jay, can you hear me? I can't hear you yet. I think we lost the audio feed. I can see you.
How now?
Perfect. How now? Perfect. So you don't look like Paul Newman, so you can't act?
No, I think at that time, I didn't even know who the hell Paul Newman was.
We better go find out.
I got to look up this. There was no internet to look it up back then. But anyway, thank God I don't look like Paul. The bug by watching the films. It depends how you grew up. You grew up in, like I said, a rough part of town and everything. The kind of part of town where it's you weren't supposed to to think things like that. You could ever be an actor, you could ever be the hockey player, you could ever do that. Is all what you're, it's all about keeping you in that one place, keeping you poor in the same thing. Like, don't ever think that you can get beyond this kind of thing. So, but I was always just sort of a strange, wacky kind of kid, and somehow, it started by playing guitar. I took up the guitar one time because there were a lot of girls hanging around, so I sort of picked up the guitar, and that went to joining a band, and just from a band to somebody needed somebody on stage. Somebody needed somebody on stage, and I didn't know really act before, and they said, well, I didn't know if I should or not. I was, like into being a musician, and they said, look, we'll give you a line. And I said, what's the line? And I think he said, like, I won't use a 4-letter word, the police.
Okay.
And I thought, oh, hey, I'll do it.
All right.
I was young, and it was like the 70s, and that's how I sort of started that, some crazy play like Wacky and his Fuddlejig or something it was called, or so it's so that I sort of started there, and just sort of it took me a long time to find myself.
Okay.
About what and when I came across other actors, I think one time I walked into a kind of place. It was called the Manitoba Theater Workshop. I knew nothing about that. And I mean, the first time I saw a play, I thought I was going into a movie theater, and I was too embarrassed to leave. People were coming on stage, but I thought there was something really interesting about that. And I went in and I said that to this place, I'm Jay Brad, I'm Jay, and I want to be an actor. And they said, okay, take this hammer and nails, go over there and build that set.
There you go. Do your part.
That's exactly. So you start there, and I started taking some workshops there, and just started doing. That was sort of the beginning of my life in the theater, and my life. And of course, the natural thing is from the theater is, can I be in movies? And sort of, I always thought I couldn't, and then I realized I would always see character actors, all those guys. You never knew their names, but they'd always turn up, and I like to realize that, somewhere in every movie there's a fat guy who's balding, and I said, and a chance to do a character is great because like Harlan, people don't know who you are, or you're walking on the street, Harlan or something. They're not, if you're a character actor, they don't go through your garbage all the time. It's the lead guys, and the lead role sometimes they're kind of pretty boring. So you get to just go in for a few days, work on some people, do a little bit, and then take off. So I've sort of been a character act for about 40, 45 years now, and I really enjoy it.
It's like you're not too high to get chopped off by the lawnmower and annoyed by paparazzi and everything else, but you're also doing well enough to be
exactly
to be steadily working and employed. So there's kind of like a sweet spot there.
Oh, you see people on the street all the time and say, "Hey, I know you. I know you from something. I know you. Aren't you? Or they, or guy says, aren't you? Well, I'm an actor. No, you're not that. It's from somewhere else.
No, trust me. I love it when people
exactly.
do that. Like, no,
okay,
that's not it. It's like, yeah, it is.
And people are pretty friendly. They're like, they're in Canada is still a quiet kind of place, and they sort of leave you alone up here. So it's nice, but always nice to walk on the street and somebody recognizes your work and likes you, and and it's nice.
Has anyone ever approached you and said Comtrya?
I've never, all the time.
Really?
People going by going like this, like this, or especially after after Stargate came out, and it was such a popular thing, and that particular episode, and I must say, I just had a ball doing it. It was working with those guys were just great, just fantastic, and
what do you
it's
think?
one of those things that
Yeah, what do you think that it is about? And I apologize for the delay. I appreciate you bearing with me.
Oh no,
What do
no,
you
that's
think
great.
it is about the legs of that show? I mean, 17 seasons, 350 episodes, something. I mean, and we're talking about it here now, 20 years on. Something is
Yeah.
going right.
You know what I tell you what it does was to me. Whenever I turned on Stargate, it was like I was watching a movie, a major science fiction movie, because it was I was utterly amazed. In the time they had, they could actually push out this thing, and the special effects were great and everything, and it was really wonderful. It's like when you could find a series that you really, like Breaking Bad, like all those things, you just drawn to it, and it becomes like a friend. It's a thing to do. And watching Stargate and all that, it was like that to people. And I never knew that until I did one of those kind of little things where you go in and meet the fans and stuff like
Conventions.
that. And yeah, the conventions, that's what they're called, conventions. And got to talk to the people, and I was always thinking, oh, they're going to be a bunch of just really young kids and everything won't know me, but they were from all ages, from all over the world and everything, and they knew so much about it. I felt so bad. They knew they had they just loved it, and it was nice to be able to go out there and meet the fans. It's a good feeling for me. It's like when you do something really good, and in theater that happens sometimes. You're there, you're on the stage, you do a great performance, you do this fantastic thing you do for 3 weeks, and it was fantastic, but it's gone. It's still there. It's up here and it's up here,
Yeah, it's
but it's not
temporal.
anywhere in the place.
Yeah, it exists in the
But when you
past
do
now and in
something,
people's hearts.
oh yes, and I've done a lot of bad movies. That's the other side of it. They're still out there. I come home at night. I had a few drinks, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, I put on the TV and I start watching something. I go, this is so familiar. I go, oh God, I'm in it. Oh my God, I'm horrible. Oh, why did I do that? Luckily, it's only on 2 in the morning. But still, when you do something really good that you're really proud of, and something like this, it stays on forever. It's there, and you're still young. It's still new. Those yourself, and people are still watching these things. It still looks good, and it's still there.
Yeah, it's the thing about shooting on film, especially with it being remastered now. Well, it's not really remastered, but upscaled in high definition. It's kind of not exactly the direction that we
Okay.
wanted, but it looks better than it did.
Let's Yes. Well, that's the great thing about film. It stays there, and it always is. I mean, that's why we're able to watch things from 1935, and that's why we have
Yeah,
Humphrey Bogart and Marilyn Monroe, who are long gone, but they're still there.
yeah. No, we watch a lot of Christmas movies. My family comes together at Christmas, like most families do, and we'll put on my mother's favorite movie, which is "It's a Wonderful Life," and she's still blown
Oh yeah,
away by the high definition, cut of that movie on my 80-inch screen. She'll sit there and she'll be like,
yeah.
"This is not." It's every time. It's like she sees things new that she never physically saw in the
Oh
frame
yeah,
before, that gives her new context, and she's like, wow, this is a completely different experience when we see it the way that it was
yeah,
shot.
yeah.
It's just extraordinary, how far the technology has come. And I mean at some point, we're going to have holographic "It's a Wonderful Life" and all these other
Oh,
things.
we'll
Can you
we'll have
imagine what's
Humphrey
going to come
Bogart.
next?
You'll have our real character, Marilyn Monroe, will be performing again. It'll
Right in
be
front of you.
Yes,
So
exactly.
jeez. um
It's a Wonderful Life is a fantastic film, and it still holds up there. I mean, which is interesting because when it first came out, it wasn't successful at all.
no, it
But
wasn't.
but
Became
it
a
is
cult favorite.
incredible. Yeah,
Not every project is captured in the time by its audience in the time in which it was
yeah,
made.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's some of those just have to sit around for a while and find their audience, which is it's just that's just how, I guess, how things go. Jay, I wanted to ask you about a character that you struggled with, or had to go deeper with than you expected to, and found something more out of yourself as a result when you were digesting the material and presenting the material.
Oh well, that's interesting. That's a good question. Yeah. everything is sort of scary for me once you get older, but uh, I'm always up for a kind of challenge. The problem of being an character actor kind of guy, sometimes you get sort of into that little, okay, but the doctors, I play a lot of, white collar crime, doctors, lawyers and stuff. The guy who comes on, in a scene and talks for 4 pages.
Exposition.
Mr. Exposition, that's
Yeah,
it.
you're moving the plot.
So when you're doing this stuff like a doctor, you have to memorize all these things, and then you have to unmemorize them so they sound real, right? And then you have to come on, do all this stuff, and have these explains. And then the other character you're working with going, what? I don't understand. Tell me again, doctor. Give it to me straight. Yeah. And then I have to come out and say 6 months, 7 months at the best. I'm sorry. And then they say, turn around. Oh, no, we don't have time. Okay, it's all right. We don't need him. So you're lucky if you're still in the picture. You don't know who you are. You don't know who you are. You're just a guy who comes on and does the work of the writer who forgot or somebody else. And you have to fill in all the stuff. And that can be fun. It'd be fun because you're working. But sometimes the older you get, it gets a bit harder because it just up here like an older computer, right? You have to stop in all that stuff in there, and so I don't try not to do as much of that kind of thing anymore because I feel that I am that person that comes on and explains everything, and I'm just nobody really. I'm just, well, if you have a character like Harlan who has 2 lines, something can be something more than what it is, right? And when you find those particular things, there's certain things you are afraid of. I mean, I did about 2 or 3 improvised films where there was no script whatsoever. So you had to go in. I was lucky enough to be in a film called The Best in Show, working with Christopher Guest and all the crew of people on there and everything, and it really taught me a lot about improvisation, about trying to be funny. And we always think, improv is about going on and just talking a lot, adding more stuff, trying to be funny, trying to be that. No, but the comedy comes out of what you're doing. I mean, I was lucky to work with do a lot of improv with Colin Mockery. Do you know from Whose Line Is This Anyway? And those guys.
Yes.
And the stuff because it's wonderful because you don't know where you're going, and it's all right to be scared, right? But you trust your partner, right? That's what true improv is. It's not about trying to be funny or anything. It's about, this teacher once said, listen, the improvisation usually starts about 2 hours after you start improvising. And then you get really good stuff, right? Because you're not thinking about it. You're not trying to think of the right answer, the funny answer, the so-and-so. And it's about not saying no to anything, right? If we're talking about, like, ask me a question now. Ask me a question.
What's the weather like there today?
What's the weather like?
Yes.
It's what do you think the weather's like? See, I'm not getting around, and if you ask me the same question,
what's the weather like today?
It's fantastic, and the UFOs are fighting. Something. It's just you just take it to another place, and it says, "Good. Did you bring the rabbits? Right in here." And then we've got a scene about rabbits fighting the UFOs, right? But you just have to go with it and say yes to everything. Somebody gives you a gift, you take it and you give it back. And I think that's what really acting is about. Is not really acting; it's listening.
That's true.
And that's the hardest thing in the world, to listen. I mean, I know I'm married for 50 years.
Well, it's a practice. It's something you practice every day.
Yes, exactly.
If you want to make it work, it's like, and it's so much of it is, it's not just about you though as well. It's about the people that you're involved with, and it's you're either lucky for it to click, and find a compatible slot to fit in with the other person, or sometimes it doesn't, and you just kind of have to we're going to make of this what we can, and hopefully whatever comes out the other end of this machine is going to be comedy. So.
Oh yeah, I know. So it's just you just have to sit back and don't worry about sometimes being an actor, there's a difference if you want to be an actor or do you want to be a star. That's two separate things altogether. And I never wanted to be a star. I just wanted to be up on the screen and work with really good people and just have fun and just share an experience, you know. The greatest things for me sometimes is not even acting on this on the scene. It's hanging around those actors, like other famous actors or famous character actors, and you know, shooting the poop with them, you know, and just
Right, absolutely.
and having these gorgeous times and hearing stories, you know. Uh, they were fantastic. I remember met this fellow Nehemiah Persoff, is about 101 years now old, and he's a wonderful, wonderful actor. You know him; he's a character actor.
Wow.
Telling me about the first time he did, you know, the scene with Brando and Rod Steiger. It could have been somebody in that famous, what is the famous movie? It could have been you know. And anyway,
Know what you're talking about? Yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh my, it gonna bug me. See, now that's gonna bug me.
It'll come
Okay,
to you
the scene
2 hours from now.
on the waterfront. On the waterfront.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They're in the cab. They're going there, you know. Okay, well, Nick was the cab driver. So he was there the whole time, saw the whole scene, had this guy, saw the stuff. So, I mean, he saw history, right?
Wow.
And it's sometimes, you know, your work. For me to be on the same stage, it's on the same film script, a film as all the other people who were in Best in Show, and to be able to keep up with them and to come out with something funny, not funny, something interesting. You know, that was the big thing about that film. The guy was, they had a lot of stand-up comedians and stuff that were auditioning for that part, and I just went the other way. Sometimes you got to go the other way. I remember auditioning for a part with the script writer. He yells louder, he yells, and there was about 10 guys there. They're all yelling, screaming, and everything, blah blah blah, blah, you know.
They're trying to outdo one another.
Yeah, exactly, or trying to read the script, you know. So I went in and I did the opposite thing. I was really quiet and different, right? And I'm sure I got the job because they were sick of hearing everybody yell. Sometimes it's like there's different ways to play the same part. That's the great thing about acting, you know. It doesn't matter if you're going to Phoenix, right? All that matters is that you get to Phoenix. You can go through Brazil if you want. As long as you end up in Phoenix, you're okay.
Well, isn't it more about the journey than it is the destination?
You know.
Yeah.
I start singing by the time I get to Phoenix on the way. Get a little sip my drink there, yeah.
Please, the second appearance. First of all, did you expect it to be called back a few years later for the same role?
Oh no! And I think finished doing a movie called Double Jeopardy. So
oh, that's right.
No. Yeah, and it was strange. That was strange, but it's like putting on those old boots, putting on that old pair of jeans. They still fit.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I love. You know, I'm going to give you a secret. I had never seen the show until you know, you said do a little research here. Maybe you should take a look at this stuff. And the first time I saw Double Jeopardy was
you had not seen it before.
2 nights ago, I saw it.
What did you think?
I thought, well, for one thing, I'm a little verklempt because, you know, like Don was a very good friend, and to see him up on the screen again is just you know, it was really nice. And that particular show, I think it was Shanks was directing it, right?
Correct. That was his first outing as director.
Fantastic job, because that show was like it was like the 10 Commandments of Stargate. You know, there was just so much stuff going on, so many people and scenes, and that it really was quite an exciting show for me to watch for the first time. That was part of the reason why people watch Stargate all the time. They were always given more, you know. It wasn't the kind of, you know, it wasn't like Lost in Space and the little things you were hoping everything would stick together, you know, glued to the robot or whatever, you know. It was done. It was like getting a fantastic meal all the time. And they always tried to push it and go further. And Double Jeopardy was like that, you know. And I just love it too. At the end of scenes, you almost feel like it's not over, right? It's just it's talking about something, and having all those scenes with them playing dramatic scenes with each other. It was a bit, you know, it was as funny as we did with Tin Man, but it really worked really well, and it was a really challenge for them, I'm sure, and a challenge for us as watching it, and it was fantastic. I mean, all those death scenes. I mean, in a way, it was like you saw
Yeah, we
all
knock
your
all
leading
of them
people
off.
knocked all of them off, and it was very moving, very sad,
There is a in so many of these episodes
But
there
they
is.
did a wonderful job with that particular. They always did a wonderful job, and it was a great thing. Everybody you talked to wanted to work on it. It was fantastic.
Absolutely. I apologize for the delay. There is something to be said about these episodes like Double Jeopardy and like Tin Man that deliberately go in to subvert your expectations in
Yeah,
terms of what it is you're watching. And in both instances, for the majority of the setup of those episodes, and for Tin Man more than Double Jeopardy, we think we're watching our team and we're not. And
yeah,
I love when Stargate doesn't pull cheap shots like a lot of material
yeah,
does out there, gimmicky shots, but actually
yeah.
makes you go, wow, I didn't expect that coming. And that's one of the things that I
Exactly.
think the show did so well and was one of the things that keeps us engaged as audiences is that it almost cues us to expect the unexpected. And
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's a lot of what good sci-fi and good drama does.
Oh, well, but because every week you were going to a new place, someplace different. You never knew what the heck was going on. As in a sense, it was back. It was like, to me, it was like Star Trek in this sense, which started to do it with him looking through, and we never know where it was going to go. We never know if it's going to be funny or why. It was quite exciting. It's what TV should have been. It was very intelligent, very intelligent. Those guys were very small. The writing was great, and the producers were really. It was so tight that the same kind of thing happened with the Supernatural. You get these people. It was one of these things. Sometimes what happens is you start doing these particular shows, and they start taking money away from them, and it gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and it dies out. It dies out occasionally. But to me, Stargate was just as strong on the last show as it always was.
Mhm. I
And
all
that's what the sheer beauty of being able to do something like that.
Absolutely. I always
But
like
then
to.
that started with MacGyver, right? Didn't a lot of people come, right? Look at MacGyver. I mean, my God, Richard,
I know he
he
made a
just
meal out of that
or
one.
he would just stay at home and count the money every weekend. I mean,
Well, and that's a guy who, I mean, he was never like a really, acting. I'm not like you want to give you acting tips, like Joe Flanagan from Atlantis. He was like,
yeah,
can you tell me, like, give me some feedback? And that's not what Rick was in it for. Rick
yeah,
was in it to have a good time with the material and with the people that he was with on set, and then to go home at the end of the day and be with his kid. And that's what he was in
yeah.
it for. And you just have to applaud that mindset because it
Oh,
was a
yeah.
very grounded mindset. It wasn't highfalutin hoity-toity at all.
And on set, he was like a kid. Where's Richard?
Very much
And you look
so.
up, it'd be upstairs climbing way up on the rafters. Get down, the insurance people are going to kill us. Get to Richard. Okay, yeah, be right down. Yeah.
Well, especially in that factory, I can only imagine. Was that shot off? That had to have been on location somewhere. That factory.
Oh, that it was. It's an old factory, and it just opened it up for. I think we were worried because there might have been some asbestos, but it was. That was the other thing about that particular thing that really worked really well. You playing comedy, but it was really dark. Like the set itself was dark and filled with all this stuff. For example, you have all this stuff and everything, and then you have a little thing where Harlan opens up a bit and he tells a story of the people who were gone and things like that. It was really quite moving in a way. It showed something about him. He was like a little kid. It was like if you took me and Harlan could have been a 10-year-old, right? And you could have done it that way too. It could have been a 10-year-old person who was left behind for 11,000 years, but still knew all this stuff. Eh,
Mhm.
You know,
It
but
was all he knew was to keep the rest
yes,
of his world going. Even
exactly.
though he was the last one, he was going to man that lighthouse until he couldn't man it anymore,
Oh
or until
yes, yeah,
the place absolutely fell out from under him, which was probably what was
yeah,
going to
yeah,
happen. So I always
yeah,
wonder
yeah.
what happened to him. You know, I imagine he's still just out there repairing things, and But I
Oh,
love
well,
his innocence in Double Jeopardy, where he's like, you got to get these people back. I've grown accustomed to them. I can't go on without them.
exactly,
He fell
exactly.
in love with that team.
It was wonderful. Oh, I'll come. No, you stay here, Harlan. Okay, okay. We only got two. We only got an hour here, Harlan. You know,
Exactly.
but it's great. I hope they're talking about Stargate here coming back in some way. I'd love the
Yeah.
return of that character. When you're only as good as the people you're working with, right?
Of course.
And that's that's a real gem.
Yeah, Redux asked the question, would you be interested in reprising the role? I see no reason why he couldn't come back at some point in some capacity.
Oh, in a minute, I'd even shave.
Brad, he'll shave.
Exactly.
That's funny. Um, uh, the uh, the Atlantis role was markedly different.
Oh,
And a very different kind of character, and I have to be honest, I was like, to be brutally honest, the character came on and I was like, is that Jay? Is that him?
I know.
He's not funny.
I know.
That was my first reaction. It was like, oh, this is a completely different kind of character. And then, but watching through the episode, you could see this subtext of humor going through it, even though this was a guy who was absolutely committed to maintaining power and authority.
Yeah.
I've got the gene, even though even though I'm dying.
It was very funny because in some ways it was like science fiction, but in some ways it was like those old things, like almost like Robin Hood and those old kind of things, the way they were presenting the people to eat, the food, everything, the dresses and stuff.
Yeah, it was a court.
It was a court. Exactly. And, I spent a lot of time dying in that series.
It's true.
But that's great, but that, I had a good time, again, working with the people were just great, Paul, this again and the stuff,
The production value of the show certainly hadn't decreased by the time you moved on to the spinoff.
Again, I mean, my God, that's why Stargate ran on so long. I mean, it didn't run. If you put all, somebody should try putting all those things together, right? And sell it I mean, how many shows would that be? Can you believe it? I mean,
I couldn't keep up with that.
I would say definitely that would, in history of TV, that is probably the most longest running story.
For sure, it's definitely up there. I mean, Star Trek has had like 800 episodes, but I mean, in terms of the pantheon of science fiction, it's definitely top 5 easily. So it doesn't get the credit that it deserves because it was made in Canada, and a couple of these other things.
Oh, I know. We used to get it all the time,
It's science fiction,
there are those Canadian bushes again.
Right, exactly.
No, but that's okay. It's we luck, as a Canadian, I mean, that's the lucky thing that happened, right? Up here for us, because I would never thought I would be in a big American type of movie or series or something like that. But they came up for a while. I forget his name. What's his name? He had, he did Wise Guy. He did all these films. He was a producer, a crazy guy, and basically, I guess he thought she's, I remember telling one producer, listen, I can be as bad as this other guy as an actor. I'll be as bad as that and work for less money. But, it's like now, it's like the same thing was happening. I was filming in Atlanta and I said, well, you're like, this is, making movies are expensive, right?
Yeah.
And you have to go where you have to go to Mexico. Sometimes you have to go to, Hungary, whatever it is, to try to get these things done.
Yeah, you have to be flexible.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you shot since the pandemic?
Yes. Well, I thought since the pandemic, I thought, well, bye. Yeah. That's gone, because theater, I do a lot of theater, but and that was closed. It still is closed. But I thought it was over, definitely. And it was. And as you get older too, it's hard. The roles aren't there, Goldman's the senior, this part, they aren't there. But I didn't work for about close to when the pandemic started. And then all of a sudden, I got a call, boom, because I do some Hallmark stuff, and Hallmark things and like that.
Absolutely.
Hallmark thing, yeah. While I was in the midst of the pandemic, I auditioned for this zombie series, and And 7 months later, you know, I got a call saying that you're there. It's on. You're on. You're in it. What? So in the pandemic, I did two Hallmark movies back to back in September, and then did the series. So I haven't been doing little things doing in the it's a different way. The wonderful thing about being in a pandemic and working in the films is I was a bit frightened, for my wife, my kids, all that stuff, but working on a set it was safer working on a set with, I don't know, 100 people than going to Costco,
Yeah, because
because
everything's controlled on the set.
everything is controlled. I was taking a COVID test once a week, getting a temperature. You had two doctors on the set making sure get us masks up. We would all keep the masks on until we shot the scene, and it's really wonderful how they did that. They were able to get that together.
It just proves that if you want if you want the work, you're going to make it work.
Yes.
And we're one way or another, we're going to get through this together. We are.
Well, it's art, right?
Yeah.
To art, it will still keep going. It'll find a way, to come back in any way. Theater, that's happening slowly because it's a bit harder, but
Right.
it will, because we need it. People think we don't need art. We need the people who clean toilets. We need people that know.
We need all of it.
You need music. You need everything, right?
Yeah.
You need everybody. I mean, that's the one problem that I think the world was. And I think this is a real wake up call to all of us. We screwed up with the climates and everything. Now we all got together. If we would have all tried to attack this thing together instead of blame people, work together on it, was probably would have been faster. But eventually that started happening anyway. And here we are. The vaccines are here, which I thought was something that we never get them, and they are here. And we've got these new variants coming, right? So we'll deal with that. And as long as we can continue to be together, work out this together, we'll be a better place.
Would you mind sharing a story of Don? Because you were lucky enough to work with him on a few different occasions.
Don was first time I met Don, he was a stand-in for, what's his name?
Dana Elkhart?
Dana.
Mhm.
He was like a stand-in.
MacGyver.
Yeah, back then he would complain about, Jay, my wife is killing me. He made me buy her a new car. And that was Don, and we'd see Don at the we be up for the same roles,
Yeah.
Jay Brazeau, you're gonna get this, Jay. I can't act myself out of a paper bag. Finally, we got to do a movie together. It was just great, and it was fantastic seeing him. He was the most gentlest, kindest man in the world, and what an actor,
Yeah.
What a real great student of the world. He was a beautiful guy. It was hard, it was really hard for him when he left Stargate, but he still kept on doing stuff. And I saw him about 4 days. I'd seen him. He's told me, he said, Jay, I just went to the doctor. I'm doing fine, because he had a heart attack a while back. I'm doing fine. Got a clean bill of health. And he met somebody, a new woman in my life. He finally divorced, and he was so happy.
Ruby.
The happiest guy in the world, radiant. And then before I knew, it was like 3 or 4 days later, and I feel that he had been ripped away from us, really ripped away from us, and it was really hard, because it's the good people, when you lose them, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but but we're so lucky because he's still alive. We can turn on our TV anywhere, and
there he is.
It's gone,
Absolutely.
Exactly. And that's been how many years now? 20 years? No.
It's been 2008.
2008.
So 13 years now.
Yeah, 13 years now. 13 years. It really is sad, and it's what the same thing is happening. So many wonderful actors we've lost, and people we've lost in this of all ages.
Yeah.
Lately, in this pandemic.
Just teaches us. I think I've learned, more than ever, to make every moment count with everyone that you have, because it may be tomorrow's never guaranteed.
Oh, exactly. But you have to take this opportunity. I mean, as I get older, I think I became a better actor once I had children, because it's always a fight in the beginning. I want to do this. I want to be famous. I want to do. I want to do that. I want to do everything I can. I got to do this. No, I got it better. No, yeah. Oh, look who got that part. Oh, going to see them play and say, oh, they're crappy. I can do better. You know, me, right? And then you finally get your children, and they don't care. You know, I can't. Oh, I can't pick them up now. I can't change the diaper. I can't. Kids there, they don't care what you are, how many awards you have. They're hungry and they want something to eat. They want their diaper changed, and you have to learn to become that. You know, so you have to learn that. And for a long time, I have to learn that first time having children and they're taking care of them, and my wife was more important than acting. You know, and acting becomes a different thing. It doesn't mean I just do it as much as I can and the best possible job. But as the older you get in life, it's just, you know, like recently when I thought it was gone, I thought, well, it's gone. And you have to face those kind of things, you know, like a runner who loses a leg, you know, it's, you know, and that's okay because I've been given more than more people have in life, you know, out of my time. So if it leaves tomorrow, I'm okay, you know. Yeah, because you changed those little things, you know. Back to the 70s, I was trying to find out what world was all about, you know, and you're listening to music, you're playing guitar, yeah, you know, and stuff like that, and singing those protest songs and everything. You know, when you get to be older, it's kind of the same kind of thing. What's it all about, Alfie? You know, kind of thing again, right? You know, you're going through that again, and you learn to accept that where you are. You know, it's you know, if I die tomorrow, it's okay. You know.
You've done some good work for sure. Eva Lipinska wanted to know what was it like to work with Rob Cooper's Unspeakable. A lot of fellow Stargate actors there in Unspeakable. That was a powerful miniseries.
Oh yes, it was. It was. It was. And it was interesting too because a lot of what we said was exactly the same things that people said. You know, it was one of those things you can't figure out why did that have to happen. You know, it's the kind of things where politics and things, you know, all the stuff I never knew blood was a commodity on the exchange and things like that. And that was being sold as money and things like this. And that was a thing that was done of love. But Rob, I believe himself was sick, wasn't he? I mean, was it Rob?
Yeah, it was drawn from a personal experience, his story. Yeah.
Yes. And so it was something he always wanted to do, to get the story out, and he did it, and it was a real pleasure. Back to you know, it was great.
Lorraine,
sometimes
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, please.
Sometimes you feel like you can do some. Yeah, you can do, and you can, you know, by doing. I try to do a lot of independent films, smaller films, and for no money. You know, you do money, and then of course, if something does well, then you get a little kind of money back and everything.
Right.
But it's not about the money. It's about the good story, and you want to pass it on, and you need the independent films. Now, I mean, when I grew up, there were all these movie theaters, and at every movie theater was a different movie. And now, there's all these movie theaters, 20, 200 more movie theaters, and they're all showing the same 6 movies.
Right.
Right, you know, so these independent films are so important. They're to be done with money. Sometimes money can ruin a good film, you know.
Oh, agreed completely. You
Right?
can throw so much money at something; it'll look fantastic, but it has no substance.
I've seen it on Netflix a few science fiction films that were a science fiction film, but with no money, and just had strong actors and a story. It's all about story, isn't it? Story, getting a good story, you know. You can throw all the money in that you have at a certain movie, you know. I remember seeing this film called Mother a while back. You've seen The Mother? Oh, it drove me nuts. I wanted to get out of the theater because it just got worse and worse, and he just threw more money at it. And I was so angry because I thought, geez, you could have had like, you know, 200 films, independent films,
right,
for that
with this budget. Jeez, yeah,
but,
you know, not every one of these is a home run, you know. Sometimes,
yeah.
Lorraine Black, did you like being in Highlander? I wanted to see Commissioner Cominski discover the world of the immortals. Loved you in so many shows.
Well, that's an interesting thing because I got fired from it.
Oh,
I walked in, I replaced somebody, And then I went in and I did 2 shows, and it was great. Even on the second show, we did something like 15 pages in half a day. And there were
Wow.
all the producers were so happy. There was one producer, because sometimes the producer wanted to be a star, and it was no, I was replaced by somebody who took a friend who took my place, who he got fired, and somebody else took his place who was a friend of somebody's, you know. So it's all politics sometimes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. There's politics wherever you go.
The time I was there, and the directors of sometimes that happens. Sometimes people don't like you or what. This person, I forget what she said. She said I looked more like a rabbi than I did her than the cop, So, but you can't battle that, Dan. And it's their bat and ball, right? So you do your best, right?
Yeah.
You have a couple of bad days, but then you realize somebody came to you and said, Jay, you were about the 10th person fired from that. The crew, everybody else, different things like that, It happens. And that woman herself was fired, I think, after that first season. And it had really good, after that went really well, Jim Burns, people like that. It was a great show, another great show, In fact, I still meet some people from there every once in a while. A fella from who's in the Navy, and he comes back every once in a while to Vancouver, and he does little trips for people who want to visit the sets and things like that. And I was hop by and do a little talk to him and stuff like that. And it's nice to have that in your life. It's nice to have Stargate. It's nice to have
It's
that
chicken
kind
soup
of thing, and to share that with other people, to sit down,
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
it's like Dungeons and Dragons, right? I
Have
don't
you
understand
played?
people. You can play that game for 7 years. No, I never. I'm not like that. It's like my son say, we always want to play. I play Scrabble. No, we want to play something else. Okay, we'll play. They get these new games. Because there's so much games that they sell in Vancouver here, and it takes them about 2.5 hours to set up the game.
That's true.
By that time, I'm asleep. I'm just like the old stuff, and I like. Yeah. It always works. Yeah. But checkers, right?
Shoots and ladders.
It's interesting, and to meet people. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is really nice to be able to meet your public and to talk to them and to say, I really like the show. I really like the character. And it gives me a chance to say thank you so much for watching, and thanks, because without them, without you guys, it wouldn't have been nowhere where it is. It's the fans, they make us better,
Better.
better.
Well, Jay, this has been such a treat. I've wanted to meet you for a long time and have you on the show, and this was terrific. So I really appreciate you taking the time. And we're losing him again. Are you there?
Anytime. You guys are great. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Oh, great. Yeah, anytime. Because, like I said, having you guys be able to sit down and have a little talk with you guys every once in a while is great. So
absolutely.
Hopefully, Stargate will be back.
Brad's working on something, so it's entirely possible we will see you again.
Harlan returns.
I will be down for it. Exactly. Shave that beard. You take care of yourself.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jay. Comtrya to you. You be well.
Okay.
Bye-bye now. Be well, sir.
Bye-bye.
Jay Brazeau, everyone. Harlan and the Lord Protector from Stargate. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry about the little bit of delay. Sometimes that happens, That's just at least, in the circumstances like we've been dealing with for the past year, at least we have a situation where we can all come together and online and enjoy one another. So big thanks to Jay for taking the time. We have a giveaway for the month of April. Dial the Gate has partnered with Big J Customs to give you a chance to get your very own custom pop figure. To enter to win these items, you need to use a desktop or a laptop computer and visit dialthegate.com and scroll down to submit trivia questions. Your trivia may be used in a future episode of Dial the Gate, either for our monthly trivia night or for a special guest to ask me in a round of trivia. Keep in mind, the submission form does not currently work for mobile devices. Your trivia must be received before May the 1st, and if you're the lucky winner, I'll be notifying you via your email to get your address. Be sure to check out our partner's website for more Stargate-related merchandise at bigjcustomsart.com. If you really enjoy the program, please consider clicking that like button. It does make a difference with YouTube's algorithm, and sharing it with another Stargate fan helps us grow even further. If you want to subscribe to future content and click the bell icon for notifications for upcoming episodes, please do that. Support the show. I really appreciate it. We recently cracked 10,000 subscribers, and we're going to see what happens next. So my utmost thanks to Jay Brazeau for joining us for this episode. David Hewlett's going to be joining us in 1 hour. I hope to see you there at just not too long from now, and he will be taking your questions and hanging out with us. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate. We'll see you on the other side.